Okay, so hello everybody, welcome to our second intermediate lesson. Now I've split the board into these three different sections. It seems to have worked quite well. We were looking at the verb to be, but we were specifically looking at allowed to. And we learnt that allowed to is exactly the same as can. It's all to do with permission. I said also that the word can has other meanings, but we just want to stick to these ones for now. We also looked at other modal verbs, which I'm going to write a few sentences in a minute for you down here. So can is allowed to. Must as a modal verb is to do with obligation. So must equals have to, or I have to. Must can also mean I've got to or I've gotta. I have to or I've gotta or I gotta. It's not nice English, but it's very, very common, so it's important for you to learn. The reason I've sectioned it out into these three sections is because this one uses the verb to be. I am allowed to, I'm not allowed to. You're allowed to, you're not allowed to. He is allowed to, he isn't allowed to. Now we've only gone into we are today, but you have to change the verb to be. It's always the verb to be that changes, no matter what tense uses the verb to be. It's always the verb to be that changes. Okay, don't forget, he's allowed to, we're allowed to, they're allowed to. I'm allowed to, you're allowed to. And of course, just add not for the negative. I'm not allowed to, you're not allowed to. He's not allowed to. He isn't allowed to. So that was the verb to be, present simple, using allowed to, permission. Over here, we were looking at any other verb of the English language in the present simple. And of course, the one that came up a lot was have. I have means possession. Look, I have a pen. I have to is that obligation. That's what we were learning today. I have to means I must. Oscar said, I need, which means something is really necessary. And you can use it, you can say, I have to do this, I need to do this. Kids have to go to school, kids need to go to school. So they can work together really well, meaning something very similar. As you can see, have to means obligation, need means necessary. And of course, the next word, by the way, is to. I need to go, I have to go. So they're very, very similar in their use. And then somebody said, I wanna, or I want to. Also very similar, I want to go to school. And then something else came up. Okay. When you put these into the negative, because it's present simple using other verbs, the negatives and the questions have a structure to them. I have a pen, I don't have a pen. He has a pen, he doesn't have a pen. Do you have a pen? Does he have a pen? What I'm trying to get to here is, these are positive sentences, and as soon as you use negative sentences or questions in the present simple using all verbs, not the verb to be and not modal verbs, but all other verbs, the auxiliary verb is the verb do in some shape or form. I don't, he doesn't, do you, does he. And the main verb is always the infinitive. Always. Doesn't change. If you just quickly turn the camera around and point it at the board at the back there, you'll see that I've just written these on the back board to show you how it works. So this was for you, Jennifer. I, you, we, they have. I, you, we, they don't have. And this is where we go wrong. He, she, it has. He, she, it doesn't have. And of course, I was also showing you the past because the past simple also uses the auxiliary verb do, but just in the past tense. I did or I didn't have. Okay? And we don't usually say I did have. That's bad English. We normally use just the negative. He didn't have. I didn't have. So you just put a quick cross through did, because I shouldn't really have written did on there. Because if you want to write the positive, it's I had. Yeah? I had, he had, she had, it had. Okay? Back to the front board. Thank you, John. So back to the front board, and just want to look at modal verbs. We did a little bit more work with modal verbs today, and I didn't really write down the structure of modal verbs. We worked through it, but the structure is missing. So let's write it on the board. So we start with the subject, we have the modal verb, and then we have the infinitive. So basically, I can go, he can go. It's as simple as that. Remember all the mistakes we made earlier on in the lesson. I must to go, He can going, no way. We always use the infinitive after the modal verb. This is really important. A really nice thing that somebody came up with was the word cannot instead of can't. It's brilliant because it means you don't have to work on this can't pronunciation, which you get wrong a lot. So cannot works really nicely. The other thing we learnt about can, apart from that it's to do with permission, is that this was one of the modal verbs that can go into the past. So he could, what are you doing? He could swim when he was 10, for example. So can be used in the past tense. Of course, there are some modals which can't be. So must is just must. If you want to put must into the past, you'd have to use had to. Yeah? That's how it would work. I must go out, I had to go out. Okay, just you can't put must into the past. So the other one you can put into the past, which we might look at later, is will. I will go out tonight. I would. Oh my God! Wait, does it work? I would. No, it doesn't work. Forget that. Bad English. Sorry about that. So yeah, so we were looking at can and can't, and can is the one that could be put into the past tense. But remember, this is the structure for all modal verbs: subject plus the auxiliary modal verb plus the infinitive. Okay, and it's exactly the same as a question. Can he swim? Auxiliary verb, subject, and the main verb in the infinitive. I prefer calling it the main verb. I don't know why. Can he swim? Yes, he can. And remember that for all of these little yes/no questions, you just look at that first word. Can he swim? Yes, he can. Do you like cheese? Yes, I do. So we're going to be working on that. Have you got a pen? Yes, I have. So we're going to be working on that a little bit next week as well. I think that's it. Everyone happy? Yeah. Thank you.